I was supposed to put us into the show.
I was gonna say, like, what? Like, maybe he had second thoughts.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pop Go the Writers. Still got a cough drop, so another week of that, and then I should be able to get back to the good pops. So we have an interesting show tonight. I haven't told Jim what the topics are going to be, but Jim suggested the first one, which is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, because he got a chance to watch the show after I recommended it.
Yep. I might not have watched it if you hadn't recommended it.
Our second topic is going to be the return of EC Comics.
I heard.
Yeah. I think that's a very interesting idea, but I don't know if it's necessarily a good idea. And then our third topic is actually what is going to be the topic for my Thursday show on The Experience, which is ways that Sony can save their universe of Spider-Man character movies.
To stop making them?
What?
To stop making movies with them?
That's the easy way.
Okay.
But I thought I'd get your opinion on it and we could share some ideas. And then, I've got my ideas and I'm going to save them for Thursday.
Okay.
But I thought, let's take a look. Is that even possible?
Okay.
I do think it is. And I won't go as in-depth as I will on Thursday.
Okay.
But I have some ideas.
Okay, good. I'm eager to hear them.
But let's go ahead and kick it off with Mr. Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
And before we get into Jim's thoughts on it, there was some interesting news. Richard Riordan, who is the writer of the Percy Jackson series, along with a handful of other children's series, similar. He's got one that focuses on the Norse gods. He's got one that focuses on the Greek gods. He's got one called the Kane Chronicles that focuses on the Egyptian gods. And that was set up it's a 3-book series, and that was set up over at Netflix. And after the success of Percy Jackson, you would think that Netflix would be very happy because they have another series from Richard Riordan.
Right.
But instead, they've actually put the show into turnaround. And if you're not familiar with that term, what that basically means is they're shutting down production and they're going to return the rights to the original owner. So Netflix has decided to end their pre-production on the Kane Chronicles, shut it down, and let Riordan have it back. Now, another studio like Amazon Prime could step in and pick up from where, that's the other part of turnaround, could pick up from where Netflix left off if they think it's salvageable and just pay for what Netflix had put in, the amount of work Netflix has done, and just go forward with all of it. So that is currently what is being considered. This news just came out on Friday. But I was a little surprised by that. You would think after the success of Percy Jackson that Netflix, again, would be happy, especially with the amount of unsuccessful series they've been having.
They're not giving any reasons. Okay, and the authors...
They didn't even announce that the author had to.
Oh, so he's not saying anything either.
No, he didn't give a reason. If they told him, he didn't say.
Okay. Is he involved in any controversy right now?
None.
So he's pretty, clean. He's not J.K. Rowling.
Nope.
Okay.
No, Reardon is actually being somewhat celebrated because, he's got a good life. He does these books. They're pretty consistent. And unlike a lot of them, like the Harry Potter ones, their answer isn't for the kids to lie to the parents or anything like that. The kids usually try to get the parents involved or the adults involved, which I think is a better approach anyway. But it seems like what's really driving this is that the streaming services are having a kind of a financial comeuppance as they're realizing they can't just keep producing and not have hits. I mean, Netflix did a ton of content, and some of it isn't even getting looked at because they're putting so much of it out.
Yeah.
There's so many streaming services.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Disney Plus, it's kind of rare that something comes out, unless it's animated, that doesn't have a big fanfare to it. So
I've often said that, like, for the people who have all the different streaming services at home, I really can't comprehend how they can ever figure out what to watch because there's just too much content.
I have Prime, Peacock, Paramount, Disney, Max, and Hulu. Right? And the majority of time, unless Lisa and I were specifically picking something to watch over the last 10 days, we had it on the cooking network or Food Network, watching cooking programs. We watched.
Why, Dan? Why?
Honestly, Lisa got me hooked on these things about 7-8 years ago.
Well,
and had she not done that, I wouldn't have started cooking. I didn't start cooking until, I was 49, 50 years old. Yeah. And then suddenly the pandemic hit and we weren't going to restaurants. We weren't doing these things. So I became a cook. And I am at a point now where, I maybe be able to compete on one of these shows.
I sort of meant why have all those streaming services? I mean, do you honestly though, and not shaming or anything, do you feel like you get your money's worth out of all of them?
I get my money's worth out of Disney and Max. Netflix, I question. Prime, I get because of the shipping. I do a lot of Amazon stuff, so that just comes with it.
Okay. All right.
Paramount, I get free because I have my groceries delivered from Walmart, and I paid for that as well.
Okay.
So I get free. I pay a one-time fee. Yeah. It was like half the normal cost, so I get Paramount as Plus.
Yeah.
So Peacock, I got a service like that. I just haven't canceled it.
Yeah.
But it's $4.99 a month.
Yeah.
And there's a couple things on there that are kind of worth it. And then other than that, I've had Hulu for a long time, but Hulu is kind of merging into Disney. So I wouldn't, I can see that going away.
I mean, I have BritBox and Disney, and I'm scared to open them up most times because I see all that stuff, and it's like, oh my God, how could anybody, ever wade through that? I mean, I literally don't open them up unless there's something very specifically that I want to watch. And sometimes I worry that I'm not using Disney Plus that much, but I have to remind myself I really only got it to watch Star Wars stuff and Marvel stuff. And every once in a while I'll watch something else,
Yeah. For me, when I get bored, I'll go to Amazon Prime and I'll pull that one up. And I tend to end up on a documentary. It's like I watched a documentary the other night about the filming of the original Ocean's 11. Or I watched a documentary on the history of nudity in film.
Wait, where was that again?
Prime.
Okay. I had Prime for as long as it took me to watch Rings of Power, and then I just dropped it. That's
Like
all
I
I
said, I
needed.
order a lot from Amazon, so
Yeah, yeah. I've gone back and forth about whether getting just keeping Prime just because of buying stuff on Amazon would be worth it. I think I'm going to wait to see how I feel when Rings of Power season 2 comes out, and then maybe go down that road again.
yeah. The ape thing was weird. That was how they got around nudity with apes.
Okay.
Yep. Or if you were in a foreign country,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
like there's a famous one with a Tarzan, where Tarzan and Jane are swimming naked in the water,
Yep. That's
and they got away with it because in Africa nobody would swim. Nobody wears a swimsuit.
yeah. I just saw that movie a few weeks ago on TCM, and I did not really realize the extent of it's I can't think of her name, who played Jane in that. I didn't realize like how exposed she actually is.
Well,
It's
she isn't. It's a body double. It's the first use of a body
okay.
double.
Pardon me, the character. Let's just say that's I meant that more. I mean, for that time,
Yeah.
it was like pretty much full frontal nudity.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
And
it's
the
really
move
amazing.
they do to get her that way, he
Mhm.
just throws her off the tree branch and doesn't look over her outfit. It's like,
Yep, yep, that's exactly what it is. Yep.
yep. I've watched the Stan Lee documentary. That's on there too.
Hmm.
There's also, is that where the Bill Finger one is, or is that on something else?
I don't know.
The Bill Finger one's sad.
Hmm. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I've heard.
But yeah, I do love those documentaries though and stuff. All right. So Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
So I told you I love this. I like the series.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's been renewed for a second season.
Great.
They are going to have to replace Zeus because Lance
Yeah.
Reddick passed
How
away.
sad.
Yeah, yeah. The executive producer has come out and said, we're not ready to think about that yet,
Hmm.
which is understandable. But
I think it will work because the character that's not his actual form anyways, as we got a
right.
hint of it with Ares, that they can't, it's not like Black Panther at all, I mean, as sad as it is, and it's
Yeah,
also not like Balin's skull, for in Star Wars in
right.
Ahsoka, that they can have it be that he just takes on a different form, but that was a really impressive, scene, and he was pretty scary when he said "boy," like
Yeah.
"boy."
What
I
I
liked it. I liked the show a lot. I did not love it, and I think it was probably because it wasn't aimed at me. You know, it was kind of juvenile at times, not saccharinely so, but
yeah.
there was times where it was fairly obvious, and that what it was being aimed at. You were absolutely right about the kid who plays Percy Jackson.
Walker
uh
Scobell.
I was impressed by him. Good job. There were a few moments where I thought he was trying a little too hard to be funny, but overall, really good. Really met all the challenges of the role. What I think is that some of the kids were better than others, and unfortunately, Annabeth is not bad, but as an actress, I don't think she's at the level of Percy.
I can
Um,
see that. Yeah.
and sometimes it was like she was stretching. It's interesting. I mean, things are filmed out of order all the time, but I would assume that they filmed the episodes in order, although what goes on in the episodes probably aren't filmed in order. But she did seem to get a little better as the episodes went along, and her character has a pretty good arc. overall. I think the parts that I enjoyed the most was seeing the interpretations of the gods themselves. That was really interesting, and it worked for me because I don't recognize most of those actors. So I was literally going, okay, there's Hermes, there's Ares, or whoever. It wasn't like I was going, oh, there's so and so as Dionysus or whatever. So that worked a lot for me.
Yeah.
In the end, I liked it enough to watch season 2. I thought it was a good overall story for those 8 episodes. I'm assuming that the next season will be the next book.
Yes.
Okay.
Which has to do with them on a sea. It's a sea of something. I think they're going after the Golden Fleece.
Yeah. Yes. You know what? I took a look at the Wikipedia page for the books. And then I think I only just very little glanced at the one for the previous movies, and then realized what do I care about those movies? They're, now they're just being canceled, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, for pushing me, into watching those, and that was a nice diversion. I watched it over 8 days. I watched an episode a day, and that was a nice little treat. I started to actually look forward to, tuning in every day.
Now, it's interesting. It's something I learned recently and then made the connection. Are you a fan of the Harry Potter series at all? The movie series?
Both books and the movies, yes.
Okay, Maggie Smith,
Mm-hmm.
McGonagall.
Yeah.
Her son, Toby Stevens, is the one playing Poseidon.
Is that her son? Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
I did not know that, but yes.
I did really like him.
Me too.
And I really appreciated how that relationship was handled. I expected a big, thing where finally Poseidonus, arrives. He's there with Percy, and that Percy totally rejects him. And I'm glad that it wasn't like that. I mean, it's not, all lovey-dovey or anything like that necessarily, but I did appreciate the way they that it was written and the way they played it very much. Yeah, he was good. I liked him. I liked him a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the casting of the gods was a bit inspired on some of them. Mm-hmm. Adam, the guy that played Ares, is an ex-wrestler.
Yeah, you know what? I discovered that, and I'm going to admit I was a little shocked because he's a good actor.
He also popped up in the Arrowverse as Atom Smasher.
Okay. I mean, honestly, when he was there, I never once said, "Oh, this guy is not, acting is not his first language." I didn't think that at all. Like I said, I was a little surprised when I found out. He's very good. He was very effective in that role, and kind of scary. Especially on the scene, on the beach when they confront him. Are they filming yet for second season?
I don't think so yet.
Okay. Well, I'll look forward to, because we haven't seen Athena. Right. We haven't seen Aphrodite. We haven't seen Apollo either. Nope. I don't know. So there's still a significant amount, of them.
We've seen Hermes, which was Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, Dionysus.
Yeah. We saw Hades, who surprised me. That's not how I would have cast Hades, but I like it.
Oh,
Adam Copeland, thank you.
When it began, I was kind of like, but it was very soon after where I said, okay, I get what they're doing here, and I actually liked it.
Yeah. And then Hephaestus was the one that surprised me. Because we really don't get a good look at him.
You don't really get a good look at him, right?
And then when you realize who it is, it's like, oh, wait, he's he's really good.
Yeah, yeah. I enjoyed that whole thing in his world, that it was a ride and the throne and that whole thing. And you know what? And Anna, the girl who plays Annabeth was pretty good in that scene when she had to, sort of like tell Hephaestus what end was up.
Yeah, I can't remember the actor's name who played Hephaestus. I think it's Olmanson.
Mm.
Let me look it up real quick. But I've seen him in a few different things. Of course, he was a regular on Psych.
You know, it's funny. It's now really starting to dawn on me. We don't get any of the goddesses. We don't get Hera, Athena, Artemis, and Aphrodite.
Yeah, Timothy Olmanson.
Okay.
But where I'm familiar with him from is actually a short-lived TV series called Gallivant.
Hmm.
It was a musical series, and he played the king. And I thought it was a great series,
Huh.
and it was a one and done.
Huh.
It was an ABC series, and like I said, it's like just out of the blue, it popped up. It was on for a couple weeks, and then Gallivant, yeah. It got 18 episodes, so that's not too bad.
Hmm.
So, all right. So overall, you liked Percy.
Yeah, I can recommend it. Yeah, I mean, again, it's not like on the level of the Harry Potter movies for me, but still enjoyed it.
And Ed got it right. Adam Copeland was Ares.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's go ahead and we're going to switch gears and talk about the return of EC Comics. Now, this is part of the story that was written by George Jean Gustines over at the New York Times. And he said EC Comics, which specialized in tales of horror, crime, and suspense, was shut down in the moral panic of the 1950s and is now making a comeback. Oni Press will publish 2 new anthology series under the EC Comics banner. The first, Epitaphs from the Abyss, comes in July with a horror focus, while Cruel Universe, the second, arrives in August and will be a science fiction series. Hunter Gorson, the president and publisher of Oni Press, said the news stories will interpret the world of today, much as EC Comics explored the American psyche of the 1950s. The cover designs will feel familiar to EC Comic fans. Running down the top left is a label declaring the type of story: terror, horror, science fiction, and the logo evokes the bold colors and fonts of past series like Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horrors.
What? Okay, first question. Why not use the titles that scream EC Comics that everybody knows? Why not plug into that? Why come up with these weird new titles?
Honestly,
I
question whether there are any EC Comic fans out there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you and I are pretty much the prime, in a lot of ways, we're the prime comic age at this point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
Anybody under the age of 40, that audience gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, comics were big, and then Pogs and video games came in, and there were a lot of lost generations that have never been reclaimed.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing nostalgia, is there an audience for basically a book that shut down in the 1950s? Now, a collection of the actual stories reprinted, you can do those. You can do them in a high profile, high quality thing.
And it has been done.
100, 150 cover price. And you're going to make your money back, and low quantity, but high quality.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to put out new comics, well, they're collections, but is there really a market? Now, Ed says he is. And I can understand it. And when it comes out, I'm going to look at it. I know Hunter. He's a good guy. I knew him back when he was at Valiant. So I have faith that Hunter Gorison, the guy running Oni, I have faith that he's going to do a good job putting it together, and he's going to market it well.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, because I look at like what Dynamite's doing right now. They just put out a Thundercats comic, which sold huge.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wheelhouse for the late 40s, early to late 50s audience.
Mm-hmm.
They just did a Kickstarter for collecting the Gargoyle comics that Marvel put out.
Yep. I've seen
It
this.
made almost $900,000.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
They're going to do a Space Ghost comic book that's going to be in the new catalog. This makes sense to me because those are the niche characters that were around when the real current buying audience were teenagers and young kids and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, the people,
Space Ghost is actually a little bit before my time, just a little bit. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
But he was still around.
He was still around.
Cartoons. Yeah,
he was still around. Absolutely. Yep.
But EC was long gone.
Yep.
I mean, if you were buying comics in the 50s, so if you were a teenager in the 50s, that means you were likely born in the 40s.
Yeah.
Which would make you in the 70s or 80s now.
Yeah. Its legend continued though to the point where I knew what it was from an early age,
Right.
and can appreciate it. But you're making a very good point. And especially as far as what constitutes horror comics today. EC stuff was pretty strong back then, and in fact, it's what pretty much single-handedly caused the Comics Code Authority. EC Comics pretty much brought that around, and then it died. It died of just neglect. The teeth were taken out of it, and they put out a bunch of kind of wishy-washy stuff after that, and then it was over. I'm curious to know, like, what will make it EC Comics other than just saying it's EC Comics and having some trade dress that is like that. Yeah, I don't know where that's going to hit with people. Dan, do you happen to know, does anybody at all own anything of the original EC Comics? That's not all public domain now, is it?
Well,
I wonder if there's any Gaines.
There is still the William Gaines family.
Yeah. Okay.
Run by his daughter Kathy.
Okay.
Kathy Gaines Mifsud, and they are in partnership with Oni.
Gotcha. So they probably still do own it then.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm speaking, from my own position in this, that I can't understand why you would not use a title like Tales from the Crypt or, Suspense or one of those, one or more of those,
Well, they might not have those names anymore because Tales from the Crypt went on to be a TV series and a series of movies.
You're right.
So they may have sold off those names. But then I'm looking at some of the names they're bringing in to write, and I'm not exactly sure about. I mean, if you ask me, okay, we're going to do an EC horror comic, what's the first team you put together? My answer would be Steve Niles and Francesco Francavilla.
Like it.
Right. They have writers that says the new stories will be written by Jason Aaron, Rodney Barnes, Cecil Castellucci, and Matt Kint. Now, I think of Matt Kint, I think of a lot of quirky comics. I don't necessarily think of horror.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Aaron, I think of as superhero comics.
Mm-hmm.
Rodney Barnes, I think of as television.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's the main writer on the Lakers series on HBO Max.
Hmm.
And I've never even heard of Cecil Castellucci. So that seems like, why wouldn't you go to some of the big Colin Bunn, Steve Niles, stuff like that?
Yeah.
And then with the artists they're bringing in, Peter Krause, good call. Malachi Ward, I'm not familiar with. Dustin Weaver. And then covers Lee Bermejo, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Smallwood, J.H. Williams III, all amazing cover artists. So I get that, but it seems like they really could. I mean, there are some big name horror authors out there.
Yeah.
Why don't you reach out? I think Richard Matheson's still alive. Why don't you get him and put him with, a scripter or something, or he and Steve are friends.
What's the Lock and Key guy's name?
Joe Hill.
Yeah, I mean, right. Oh, right there. That's Stephen King's son, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am
Why
I
don't
right?
you reach out to Stephen King?
I mean, yeah, right. Yeah, you would think. Okay, you were just saying 70s and 80s. If Stephen King wasn't into EC Comics, then I don't know what's up with the world anymore.
If you're launching this, why not go big? Why not go and ask Stephen King? What's the worst he says? No.
No. Yeah. Exactly
Justin
right.
Lin, who is built his name on horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
George Romero's kid is doing horror stuff now. George C. Romero.
Wow.
There's plenty of names, but like I said, Steve Niles. How is Steve not considered part of this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Reteaming Steve Niles and Ben Templesmith for a story.
It makes me wonder if they're even going to bother to try to hit that vibe of the EC. So much of EC Comics was that sort of O. Henry type of story, with the twist, at the end. I just said it before. There are so much horror comics out there now. How are you going to plug this in and have it stand out other than just literally saying, oh, yeah, it's EC Comics? Like, okay, well, what does that mean anymore? Like,
exactly.
If they're paying a license or they did their due diligence to get the name or whatever, then they really need to do something to make it stand out. I hope it's not that they're literally thinking like, hey, if we build the new EC Comics, they will come, like literally just calling it EC. It's going to be very interesting to watch, and I'm not going to say it's a train wreck to watch. Like you said, you want to just see what it's like,
right? But if I'm putting this together myself, then I'm going to go, and I know that today's audience, EC Comics is kind of a nostalgia, not even a nostalgia thing, it's a history thing.
Yeah.
So what you do is you go back to the writers that grew up on it, that are now the honor guard of the industry, and you team somebody like Stephen King and Michael Golden.
Wow.
Or
well, wait, what about Stephen King and his son together?
Well, yeah, but I was thinking of an artist.
Oh, sure, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Guys that grew up reading EC Comics that missed their chance to work on it. You go to them and you bring in these huge names. American Werewolf Joe Landis.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't think he would love to do an EC story? What about Spielberg?
Mm-hmm.
He
Sure.
did, amazing stories and stuff. You've got the property now. Use it. Don't just
Yeah.
use it for a corner character.
Yeah.
Go out there and reach for the stars. Because the worst that'll happen is they're going to say no, and then you move on.
I
John
mean,
Carpenter.
John Carpenter. That's who I was trying to think of. I mean, I don't understand why they don't have Dan Wickline.
I got my start doing horror comics.
Mm-hmm. That's what
I
I'm
worked with
saying.
Steve for a long time, and
Uh,
the O. Henry stories were what I was doing at Zenoscope. I would love to jump in and do a story.
well, you have a path though. You should reach out to them if you know the guy.
I do, and I should.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you should really.
Yeah, but
It'll be very interesting to watch how this develops and what
I
comes of
love
it.
the comic industry, and I want things to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just question if the brand recognition is enough. Clive Barker's still around,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, he would be another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got a friend of mine that works with him. So, yeah, if Hunter hired me to run the EC line, the horror line, I would be all over this.
There you go.
Actually, because we actually have a little time tonight, I'm not friends with Clive, but I know Clive. I was his bodyguard for 2 weekends.
Oh, I think you told me this story before. This sounds very familiar.
Yeah, he did the Marvel line of books, the Hyper Kind,
Uh-huh.
Ecto Kid, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Marvel brought him out to LA to do some signings. And one of them was at a local shop that I frequented. It was the
Mm-hmm.
shop I went to. And I had gone to high school with the sister of the guy who owned the shop. And being a big guy, he's like, Marvel wants me to bring a couple extra people in for the signing because they think it's going to be huge.
Uh-huh.
It was.
Uh-huh.
Would you be willing to come in and work that day? I'll give you some, money, credit towards your books and stuff like that. And I said, oh yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. So he says, well, whatever you do, come in looking as big as possible. So I showed up in a trench coat and, gray shirt, and I was a big guy back then. And,
Uh-huh.
and Clive came in, and Clive was just super nice. And this
Mhm.
is before he had the issues with his throat. So back then he sounded like one of like the fifth Beatle. Could we possibly get this line moving a little faster? Come on, let's get some people in here. I know you're security, but come on, you can help out. Let's move. and now he talks like he's a pack-a-day smoker.
Mm.
Well, when I made Pinhead, he was like that, like Batman doing the fake voice. But Clive was super nice. He wouldn't leave until everybody got an autograph. And when Marvel walked in and saw me, they went, "You're assigned to Clive." Oh, he goes, "Yeah." When he walks in the door, you stand next to him. While he's signing, you stand next to him. You stand next to him until he's in the car driving away. It's like, okay. And that's what I did. I have a picture of a very young me.
Did you have sunglasses?
I don't think I had the sunglasses on.
Okay.
But, and then the guy, after Clive left and I got him safely on his way, there was a guy from Marvel named Mike Martz, I think. No, Mike something, who was running the shoot. He goes, "All right, we've got another signing in 2 weeks or next weekend in Orange County." Like, okay. He goes, "Any chance you can come down and do the same thing?" Like, yeah, I could do that. He goes, "Okay, here's the store." And luckily I knew the store. I was friendly with the owner. So I called him up during the week. I said, "Hey, Barry, I'm gonna, Marvel asked me to come down and just stand with Clive and take care of him and stuff. You good with that? He goes, absolutely. Like, okay. So he so I spent 2 different weekends with Clive doing this signing, the Marvel Mega Tour. I don't remember what year it was. I think it's on the sign. But yeah, it was a pretty interesting setup. And I think I have.
I thought of another creator name just now to throw out for the new EC Comics. Mike Mignola.
Mignola would be a great. Is
I
that
mean,
showing
at
on the
least to
screen?
do some covers, if not write or even draw. I know he doesn't draw a lot anymore. Look at that.
Yeah,
Oh my
much
God.
smaller and younger Dan.
That's great. Wonderful.
Yeah, and then Clive signed it. This is how old it is. It's a Polaroid.
I know, I see that. A Polaroid.
Yep.
Oh my God. You might have to explain that reference, to some of your audience, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Polaroid used to be instant cameras. It took a picture and then the film developed itself, but it took
Uh-huh.
a minute or two.
Yeah.
And then once it did, you had this picture.
Yeah.
So,
It
but there was
spit
no
it out,
negative
and then
printing.
you had to pull this film off of it and then kind of like sit there and wave it around, and it would slowly like appear.
Yeah. You know that song, Shake It Like a Polaroid Picture?
That I don't know.
Yep.
Shake it like a Polaroid picture.
Yeah. So yeah, that was me in my 20s.
Uh-huh. Great. Wow.
Live. So
Wow.
but, yeah, there are so many amazing writers out there, horror writers,
Yeah.
who grew up on EC Comics, who I think would trip over themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who's the guy that did? Is it F. Paul Wilson?
Oh my goodness. The Keep. He wrote The
Yeah,
Keep. Yeah.
yeah. F. Paul Wilson has done some comics. When there's a horror bookstore in Burbank, California, called Dark
Mm.
Delicacies, and
Mm.
they did an anthology with um, IDW,
Mm-hmm.
and it only went a couple issues.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't quite catch on, but Dell from Dark Delicacies reached out to me and asked if I would be willing to adapt a F. Paul Wilson story,
Mm.
and with an artist named David Draper, and that's in there, and that was a lot of fun. And I know that F. Paul Wilson loved the idea of doing comics and stuff. So, like I said, there's a lot of big name horror writers that they could bring
Yeah.
in.
I just thought of another one. Hear me out.
Okay.
R.L. Stein.
R.L. Stein. Yes.
I bet you he would just, his head would explode if they, to
Yep.
say, you want to do some EC Comics?
Yeah. Justin, the horror series was really good. Justin would be another excellent choice.
Mm-hmm.
Art wise, thinking of what's his name? He used to be over at Avatar for years and years, and then he came over and did Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot of horror with Warren Ellis and Alan Moore. Alan Moore.
Yeah. That would be interesting to be there when they asked him. I mean, isn't he retired basically?
Uh,
I
so
wonder if he, if EC made any impact on him. That's a very interesting question.
true.
I don't know how much the British writers were impacted by that. I don't know if EC made it over there.
I heard this great story from a artist named Angel Medina who used to work on Spawn.
Yeah, I know the name. Sure.
He was talking about how he was over in England for a signing at a comic book shop, and there were supposed to be other big names, so it was a very relaxed situation. He wasn't the big star, so he was waiting for his signing time and decided to relax a little bit by stepping out in the alley and maybe partake a little of
Yeah.
So he heads out to the alley and he lights it up and he takes a few hits. He said, and out of nowhere, just like literally melding out of the shadows, was this homeless guy. Just scruffy, horrible looking, looked like he hadn't showered in days. Is the description that he gave. And again, I'm doing all this from memory, so this could be faulty.
Okay.
The guy's like, mind if I, basically he asks for a drag.
Yeah.
And Angel's like, are you sure? He hands it over. The guy takes a couple of hits and nods and he hands it back. And Angel looks down to take it. And by the time he looks up, the guy's gone. Faded back into the shadows. He's absolutely freaked out by the whole thing. And then one of the employees comes out and goes, Angel, it's signing time. He goes in and he's doing his signing and he's having a good time and talking to people. But there's a huge line on the other side of the store. So at one point there's a break. He gets up to stretch his legs and he walks over and he realizes they're all in line for the homeless guy.
I saw this one coming.
Yep. He goes, and that's how I got high with Alan Moore.
Oh my goodness.
Great story though, huh?
Yeah, that's a really, really great story. Oh my God. I would have been terrified. Because Alan Moore is a pretty scary looking dude. And he gets scarier the older he gets.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our final topic. What in the hell is Sony doing?
Give me some numbers. Give me some numbers on Madam Web first.
What type of numbers are you looking for?
Dollars. Let's start with dollars.
All right.
It's been out how long now? 2 weeks?
Second week. Yeah. It dropped 61% of its audience between week 1 and week 2. It opened for 15.3 million. It made 6 million this weekend.
God. 15.
Domestically, it's sitting at 35 million. Worldwide, 77 million.
And it cost how much? Do we know that?
I don't have a budget number at this time.
There's no way that it's less than 100, right?
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I all along from the announcement of it all the way up to it being released, I still don't know what in the hell they were thinking of. I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know what the Sony is thinking.
Now, I'm gonna throw this out there.
Please, yeah.
Rotten Tomato score.
Yeah.
Madam Web tomato meter means the critics on a 218 reviews, 12%.
Oh God.
Audience score with over 1,000 reviews, 56%.
I'm surprised it's that much.
Now, was Black Widow a good movie?
I liked it.
Okay. Black Widow's critical score was 79%. Its audience score was 91%.
Okay, that's wow. Okay. Let me ask you this, because this Madam Web is for the most part a chick flick, meaning, I mean, it's got a lot of women in it, right?
Yep.
So what is the Marvels looking at like right now as far as Rotten Tomatoes goes?
62% critical score
Okay.
off of 357 reviews. So
Uh-huh.
it has 140 more reviews.
Yeah.
Its audience score, which is over 2,500 scores instead of 1,000, 82%.
Okay. All right.
But The Marvels is a bad movie, according
Well, I
to
was
the.
just going to say that's too bad since it's a horrible, crappy, stinky movie that's
Yes.
junk, which I just saw that today. An artist who I know on Facebook just said the other day, like, I was so disappointed in Marvels. I was excited to see it, but I nearly fell asleep. It was so boring. Did anybody like this movie at all? And everybody's getting on there going, no, I hated it. It's junk. It's garbage or whatever. And I mean, he asked, so I literally said I enjoyed the movie, and he asked me why, and I came up with like about 6 different points about why I enjoyed it. And luckily I didn't have to unfriend him, because he just said, okay, well, I take your points. He said I didn't enjoy it, but wow. So
Now,
Madam Web is not going to make its money back.
now, looking at Morbius,
Uh-huh.
which has a 71% audience score, but there was a big push to play with Morbius and Morbin time and stuff, to the point where they tricked Sony into re-releasing it, and then it bombed a second time.
Yeah.
Critical score 15%.
Ooh. Okay, well, Sony needs to just give back all those characters to Marvel and just stop messing around with it.
Yeah, they're not going to.
No, they're not going to. I mean, Dan, help me to remember. They cannot make Spider-Man all just by themselves. Use Spider-Man himself.
Marvel?
Is it no Sony?
Sony can.
Then I don't understand why they just don't do that then.
Because they don't make any money doing it.
How can they not make money with Spider-Man?
Okay. Box Office Mojo. Let's first look at The Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, well, you're going to go back that far. Okay.
Well, that's the last time they tried.
Yeah.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I could look at those numbers.
Yeah.
I was giving them credit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think we're in a different atmosphere now, though, with Marvel Studios. I mean, if they made a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie just by themselves, wouldn't that do great?
I don't know if they can use Tom Holland.
Oh.
Because he's under contract between the two of them. They might be able to.
Okay.
But let's just put it this way. Worldwide, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 made $700 million, which is a good number.
Mm-hmm.
With Marvel, Marvel's No Way Home made $1.9 billion.
Okay, well, when you put it like that,
yeah, and they get the majority of it through the deal.
Yeah.
So,
okay, I want to hear what you would do.
Okay, I have multiple ideas.
Okay, lay your best ones on us.
I have 5 basic ideas, and I will go more in depth in these on Thursday. But these are my basic ideas.
Right.
The first one that comes to mind is leave Tom Holland's Spider-Man over with Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Do a live action Miles Morales and use him as the Spider-Man that pulls these movies together.
I'm totally on board with that. You would think that's a no-brainer.
You would think, but they're not.
Hmm.
My second idea would be to lean into the fact that they have villains, because what they're doing now is they're trying to find these somewhat hero versions, and they're doing Craven. They did Madam Web.
Venom.
I would do a Sinister Six movie. I would do it as kind of a heist movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I would put a version of Spider-Man in almost like Jaws, and I would do it from the bad guy's point of view as they're trying to pull off this heist, and it has to be a huge heist.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be we're robbing a bank. And I would do that and just make it where Spider-Man pops up to spoil it for them, but he's more of a boogeyman. We never see who's inside the suit. We do the whole thing from the villain's point of view.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Also, with this, I would do a Black Cat movie that has her robbing the wrong person. So again, she gets to stay a bad guy, but she's the protagonist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I would lean into the characters,
Mm-hmm.
and I would get away from trying to do these crappy ones that nobody cares about.
Yeah, I agree.
I would find my Margot Robbie, Sydney Sweeney, whatever, to play Black Cat
Yep.
and make that the lead of the show.
Yep. Yep.
My third idea would be to find a single visionary leader like a Kevin Feige or a James Gunn.
Yeah.
I would then break the deal with Marvel. I would build a brand new Spider-Man universe, throwing all of this crap out with a brand new Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Start it from scratch and just do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to get somebody who is not a producer. He's somebody who knows these characters and loves them and could make good movies.
Mm. Yep.
Okay.
All on board.
My fourth idea would be to tie into Spider-Man No Way Home and have a scene of a character who got through the multiverse and was able to get the blood of one of the Spider-Mans during the fight, because a couple of them were bleeding. And then I would go back and do the Clone Saga and make a Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider
Yeah.
in the Venom universe
Yeah.
and just go from there and not necessarily say which Spider-Man they got the blood from.
Uh-huh. Okay.
My final idea, and this is my favorite, is again, I think Sony should forget what they're doing with all these things, and they should go to Marvel and make them a deal. And say, okay, we're going to allow you access to all of the modern day Spider-Man characters. You can use them in any of the movies, but if you use them, depending on how much time they're in there, we get a percentage of the gross. If Spider-Man's in it, whatever, and just make this deal so they can do Spider-Man movies. You get your normal cut. They can have Venom pop up. They can have Black Cat pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel can do any of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In exchange, Sony gets all of the 2099 characters. And you build a sci-fi, futuristic Blade Runner meets Spider-Man world around Miguel O'Hara and Spider-Man 2099. And then you start working in characters like Punisher 2099, Ghost Rider 2099, and stuff like that. And you build this universe around the 2099 universe. So Marvel gets the modern day, Sony gets the future. It'll be easy for fans to follow, because if it's a 2099, then it's Sony's universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get yourself a strong lead Spider-Man as Miguel O'Hara. You get to pull in a new Punisher. You get to pull in, they did a Ravager 2099.
Yeah. Fantastic Four 2099.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. I think my favorite of all your points is still the Miles Morales one. That one really seems to make the most sense because they would have their own Spider-Man and a popular one who's already popular in the animated movies, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and they
Or
can keep doing the animated movies, but
and then if they added in Spider-Gwen, if they could either do those together or maybe even make a Spider-Gwen movie, by herself. But I would have her in the Miles Morales movie and then maybe spin her off,
yeah.
pardon the pun. Yeah, I like all of your points except I'm not so sure about the last one, but the big one I think is just do Miles Morales and stop messing around. Okay, real quick, is there any chance with the horrible performance of Madam Web that they cancel the Craven movie?
No, it's already made.
Okay.
They'll put it out and hope for the best.
Yeah. I mean, they'll get another $15 million that they didn't have before, right?
Yep. Yeah, they could do Spider Punk and everything else, but there's a point at which you don't want to saturate the market with Spider-Man.
Yeah, I agree.
And if they do, they have to be careful because I watched an interview with an IP lawyer. As long as they're putting out Spider-Man movies, and there's a chance that the Madam Web movie mainly came out to keep the license.
I felt that too. I felt that there was a very good possibility that's why it's loaded up with all those characters.
And it's why there's a baby Spider-Man or baby Peter Parker. So they can say Spider-Man was in this movie too. Because they do have to, part of the contract is they have to put out a Spider-Man movie every, I think it's 4 or 5 years, or they lose the rights. It's the same way. That's why Fox did the Fantastic Four movie when everybody knew it was going to be a disaster.
Yeah, right. Okay, but if Sony is losing money, why would it still be worthwhile to them to hang on to those rights?
Because when Marvel does a Spider-Man movie, they make $1.9 billion.
Okay. Billion. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but then they're losing. I know. It's just crazy to me.
Yep. But they don't think they're going to lose. They think they're going to make money.
I know. I mean, nobody makes a movie to lose money. You've said it how many times
Exactly.
before. I know. It's a crazy business.
There's going to be a Madam Web behind the scenes, and we're going to see all these people earnestly trying to make a good movie.
Yeah, I know. Of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a behind the scenes video for Showgirls and Geely.
Yeah. Yep.
Ed thinks they should do a Spider Punk, which again, I do like Spider Punk, but I have my problem is a self problem. I don't like characters that are derivative. I don't like there to be two Spider-Men.
Yeah. I think it would be okay if Sony did Miles and Marvel Studios did Peter. Honestly, I think that would be okay. I think that would be acceptable. And I think a lot of people would, and then you know what? You'll get a little bit of an older crowd going to the Marvel Studios one, and you'll get a little bit of the younger crowd go, more heading towards the Sony one. And then
I feel like I need to write this book that Ed just suggested.
Okay, you get right on that.
Yeah. Let me call up Dustin over at Ethereal, see if we can get that put together.
Okay, you get right on that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, that would be fun.
Uh-huh.
Not that, but
Uh-huh.
the only reason I like the idea of the 2099 thing for Sony is what Marvel's doing their universe, DC's doing their universe. It's all the same time. It's all the same. I want something different.
Hmm.
I want someone to do a superhero universe
Mm-hmm.
that's set in the past, in the future. You know, a Blade Runner 2099 type world
Mm-hmm.
would be awesome. Or an Old West. I was thinking today how fun it would be to do a superhero movie set in the Old West,
Yeah.
where you put their powers around those ideas. You know, like one
Well,
guy creates a steampunk set of armor.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
Marvel's got how many Western characters? DC's got how many Western characters?
but
You
they're
know.
all cowboys. They're not necessarily. There's a couple superheroes. There's the original Ghost Rider or Knight Rider,
Yeah,
whatever.
there's Two Gun Kid, I think, is the one with the mask, if I remember correctly. I see what you're saying with that. Well, you know what? Marvel has 1602. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it would be fun to do a, but just another time period, but
Yeah.
a futuristic one in a very gritty. You
Yeah.
know, like I said, Blade Runner or like the Fifth Element world or a
Yeah.
Judge Dredd world.
I thought Marvel was potentially going to grow the UK part of the Marvel universe. You know, once Eternals came out, uh, I really honestly thought that they were going to start trying to grow all of the British, superheroes and different characters that they have.
There's been talk, but it hasn't really moved forward.
Yeah.
But then there's a rumor that Henry Cavill has signed on
Yep.
to the MCU,
Yep.
and a lot of people seem to think he's going to play Captain Britain.
Yeah. I don't care for that idea.
An Avengers Jetsons crossover.
Well, okay. Marvel also could do World War II. There's plenty of characters. They
Yeah,
have
you could just do an Invaders movie.
bazillions of characters from the Golden Age
Yeah.
that they could do. The Invaders and
I would immediately sign up to write an Invaders movie or TV series.
yeah, that would be great.
Yep.
Liberty Legion.
Yeah. But I'd want to use Union Jack.
Yeah, Union
and,
Jack.
and Namor and Cap. You know, I think that would be a great way to bring Chris Evans back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is if they did just one Invaders special.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you bring in Tenoch Huerta as Namor. You bring in Chris Evans. You get a Union Jack. You know, you get an Android Torch.
Yeah, no, Chris Evans as the Android Torch. Really surprise everybody.
He plays both parts, yes. I think that would be awesome.
Chris Evans is Jim Hammond, the Human Torch.
Yep.
In fact, they could get all of the like Avengers actors, but they would all play different roles. Like ScarJo would be Madeline Joyce, Miss America. You know, I mean, it would be great. They would all play different characters.
Robert Downey Jr. is the Wizard.
Yeah, okay.
You know, the Wizard exists in the MCU.
Yes, we even talked about that, I believe. Yep. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay.
All right. I think we're going to wrap it up there. We went a little over, but it's always good.
Uh-huh.
So, any other thoughts on the Sony? Yeah, so you think Miles Morales, but did you have any ideas?
No, because I think all of those are, pretty damn good. No, as soon as you said the Miles Morales thing, that's where I went. It seems to make the most sense of all, and I think they could really be successful at it. And it makes me wonder why they haven't, done that yet.
Yeah.
I mean, other than he's in those animated movies.
Yep. All right, guys, we're going to wrap that up there. We will be back next week. Thursday, I will be talking about more Sony stuff. Try to get a little more in depth.
Yeah.
Break down exactly what I would do and why, stuff like that. Tuesday, I'll do the news. And then we'll be back next week. The Bad Batch has returned. So we might sit down and watch that. I don't know if anything else is coming out. But, and of course, X-Men 97 is coming.
Superman Legacy is going to start filming.
Yep.
They had a cast photo that was put out there.
Yep, from the table read. Also, we saw symbols or the signs on the table for everybody. And the Superman logo is the Superman logo from Kingdom Come.
La 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 la. Don't want to hear it.
It's just about the logo.
No.
I don't think there's any spoilers.
No. What I mean is I don't want to hear that that's the logo that they're using.
Oh.
Yeah,
well,
no.
We're going to do black and we're going to do red and yellow.
I don't like the look of. I never really cared for that logo,
From what Gunn has said, the movie is about him trying to merge his being raised human and his Kryptonian legacy.
Yeah.
So it always made, I'm used to the logo. I love the standard logo, but it makes sense to me for it to have more of an alien looking design if he's using the house logo, the House of L logo.
If that means that he goes over to the classic logo during the course of the movie.
Well, see, I think it would be the other way, that he's probably using the classic, and then as he starts to embrace his Kryptonian heritage.
Yeah, but I think the story of Superman is that he's more human than Kryptonian. I mean, that he realizes that, so.
Yep.
Food for thought. Yep.
I do want to get back to that Jack of Hearts story, Ed. We'll have to see if we can make that happen. On the show, I was basically designing a Jack of Hearts one-shot or series.
I remember. Yep.
So, but like the Marvels movie has a similar plot to what we were doing. Plus, the word is that Terax, who's going to be our big villain, may end up in the Fantastic Four. So, might have to take it down and put it back up again.
So. Played by Henry Cavill.
No, Paul Giamatti.
Okay.
We already played the Rhino, so.
Right. Yes, you're right.
And that's why Sony shouldn't be allowed to do Spider-Man movies.
That is correct.
Yes. All right, guys. See you next time. Have a good week.